Well, having looked at the Wilton Castle and the parkland and grounds close to the castle, this video is about the estate itself. This is Esnab, about, as it says there, about 1900. A fellow called Helm lived there for about 30 years. He had a little donkey. He used to go down into Weston and get his groceries and meander all the way back up. And when he died, they had to carry him all the way back down again. It was built as a Napoleonic lookout. And before Mr. Helm lived there, it was lived in by one of the keepers for the Wilton estate. Eventually it became very dangerous. When I was a kid it was in a parlour state, and anyway it was blown up, and that little obelisk which is up there now was built from the remains of it. When the original Napoleonic house built, or lookout point built on Esnab, was blown up in the 50s, this obelisk was built from the remaining stones, designed by a Mr. Thornley who lived in Wilton Green. This is the nab from the south. This is May 2013. It's a view you don't often see. This is a view from Esnab looking down on Lazenby in 1967. You see the Lazenby bypass hasn't been built there, or there's no embankment to the north of Lazenby shielding it from ICI. And this is the same view in 2005. This is Greystones Road. If I just pan round, you can see that the whole of Nylon Works with its cooling towers, two huge cooling towers over there, it's all gone. This is Wilton gas-fired power station, half of which is in mothballs. There used to be 4 big chimneys there at the power station. There's only, now I can only see 2. So the whole place is gradually falling at rock and ruin. ICI, having given it up in 1999-2000, sold it all off in bits. But new, there's British Steel at Lockerbie, which is now owned by some Thai company. If we just pan round out at sea, you can see the big new wind farm being erected there at Redcar. An absolute eyesore. A dozen of them. They're enormous. Oh, one's actually going around. Unique. Still haven't finished. This is 2013. I just zoom back now. This is Lackenby. 2013. The old village with red plant tile roofs. It's quite windy here. It says a lot about the residents of this area. This whole place is festooned with plastic bottles. Dozens of them everywhere. And graffiti all over the rocks. Absolutely shocking. Cans everywhere. And gas and daz and every single rock's plastered with it. A shame. And up at Essenab on the rocks there, somebody had carved a large skull and crossbones. You could just see it there. And it's still there. It hasn't worn away. You can see the sort of skull there. And then these crossbones underneath. Must have taken him days to do it, whoever it was. And the skull and crossbones are still here. Must be there for well over 100 years. And here's a relic from the past. An ICI boundary stone. This is the western boundary going down from Essenab towards Pit Top. When ICI took over or bought the estate from the Lowthers, put these all along the western boundary. It's the only place you see them. And from such promise, ICI was a blue chip company. There were some bad decisions made, and in 1999, 2000, ICI disappeared more or less from the scene, taken over by a Dutch company, and they sold off Wilton site, which they'd had for just over 50 years. And this is the ICI boundary stone at the very extremity. This is the southwest corner of the estate. I would think it must be a good 3 miles to Wilton Castle from here as the crow flies. And this little swamp here is the beginning of Moordale Beck. This trundles away down there and was the southern boundary of the estate. And it's here where that aqueduct starts. The aqueduct you see on the map, it starts here somewhere, but I've never been able to find it. This is what we call Gill Pond. And there used to be fishing here. No, I can see it. Dozens of plastic bottles. It's all much more overgrown now than it used to be. This is Gill Pond as it was in the 1960s. Looking at it from the other end, which you can't really get to now because it's all overgrown with thorn bushes. This is Court Green Farm, which was part of Wilton Estate, still there. But running across was this thing which is marked on the maps as an aqueduct. And it carried fresh water from way up Pit Top way, right up Moordale Beck, and it used to carry it down to the farms, the castle and the village. And it used to finish at the top of what is called Waterfall Gill. The water used to come out there, and as lads we used to always make for there because it was very refreshing for a drink. Whereas now it's been broken and the water doesn't flow out at that point anymore. This is all that remains of High Court Green Farm. It was never there when I was a kid. It was always a ruin, but the buildings were there. They had rusty corrugated sheet roof, so we used to call them red barns. But there was a chap in Wilton Village, a Mr. Norman, who was born here in Red Barns. Or High Court Green Farm. He was known as Moody Norman. He was a mole catcher, amongst other things. He was a very old man when I knew him, but I used to talk to him when he was catching moles on the golf course. When the aqueduct crossed the fields, it used to come to this junction here at the corner of Lovell Hill, and this is still there, and this valve still operates. In fact, it's still being used. So you could, by using this valve, you could divert the water in 2 directions. And it's still here. This is the aqueduct valve where you could divert it. Oh, there's the valve. And this was the diversion which used to go across to the waterfalls in Waterfall Gill. Or you could divert it down there in Gramsgraft. But just coming up to the surface at this point is this so-called aqueduct, this pipeline, carrying water all the way from pit top on its way across to that valve on the corner over there, and still carrying water. It's been here for, I would think something like maybe 150 years. In Wilton Woods is an area called Gramsgraft. If you follow the stream down, you come to this kilobite area where everything is gradually being covered by a slight stony deposit. I don't suppose anyone knows it's there. And it's just down in here where that kilobite spring is. You just follow this beck down, you come to it. It's a bit rough to get to, mind. That's where the things turn to stone. These are, well, this is Court Green Cottage. Peter Caddy's granddad used to live in these cottages. For a long time they were empty and going to rack and ruin, and then they were sold off, or it was sold off. It's a lovely site, beautiful views, and well sheltered. But all these cottages, they were all tied cottages. If you worked on the estate, you lived in them. If you got the sack, you got kicked out. In May 1999, ICI decided they were going to sell the whole of the estate, much to everybody's amazement. They just could not believe that ICI was pulling out, but they were in desperate financial straits and were eventually taken over by a Dutch company. And this is the whole of the property which was up for sale. So we just start off at, this is Wilton Castle. So this was the golf course, which was a separate lot, lot 4. This was the Lazenby farm. And this was the land at Lackenby. This is Lackenby village. There's a field here, and then there were these fields here which were farmed by a family called Bullocks, who lived at Old Hall Farm in Lackenby. And then there were all the various lots. This is pit top. So it came right away across to Moordale Beck, that was the boundary on the south side. Right way across to Dunsdale. This is Dunsdale here. An enormous area. We'll just have a look at it in a little bit more detail. This is the legend how each coloured area on this map, and that was what was included in it. Lot 13, this is the aerial site at Eston Nab. A little bit of information about it. This is Banktop or Scraff Farm. It's since been demolished and rebuilt. So that was it, the end of an era, ICI gone. And this was the company where it was a job for life, and they trained thousands of apprenticeships. I mean, an ICI apprenticeship was like gold dust when you were leaving school. You know, you needed 5 O-levels to get in. And lots of people who worked there will, of course, have benefited from that. But of course, in today's economic climate, 2013, with thousands of youngsters out of work, it's just a great shame that the whole thing has gone.